Tell me again, why are we in a vampire ghetto after sunset?
Be patient. Wait. Watch. Come on. This is the one we've been watching.
Man, our little credit things is over?
We have no use for a vampire in our ranks. This is a waste of...
This intro's a lot longer than I remember.
Fewer weaknesses she must defeat.
Alright, let's speed this up a bit for retention's sake.
Where is he, bitch?
Pretty neat, huh? This absolute ball of glorious 2000s edge stepped in leather underwear is Rayne, and that's the first thing she ever says in a titular series. Does this count as titular? I don't know if our first name is Blood, but stick around, we may have the answer for you later in the video. Would you look at that, engagement in storytelling? See, your boys here at TCP can play the YouTube game too. So here we go again, talking about another beat 'em up from the early to mid 2000s. We did something similar last year with Namco's Tekken spin-off, Death by Degrees. But if we just limit this to games associated with only fighting games, then these little diversions away from them wouldn't last too long. Let's see what we have real quick, right from the top of my head. There's Death by Degrees, Virtual Quest, Final Fight Streetwise, Cannon Spike, and MK Mythologies and Silent Monks. I'm sure there's more, and two of those we don't even want to play. But you know, we'll get to them eventually. So anyway, back to BloodRayne. The game, not the character, was released in 2002, and we were young at the time, so we didn't get a chance to play the game into our mid to late teens. But BloodRayne, the character, not the game, shot up to relative popularity in a short time, so at least we knew about the character. I don't think she was ever as popular as Lara Croft, but she was liked enough to be the first video game character to appear in Playboy magazine. And I mean, can you blame them? Look at her. This was peak sexy character design in the 2000s. You can't get away with this design nowadays. Well, I guess if you made her uglier, more unlikable, and give her a dick. Before we start talking about the actual game, I feel we should go over what even is BloodRayne's deal within the story itself, because if I can recall, the game might not even bring it up into the sequels. There is this consistent rule that if any hot woman decides to dress the way BloodRayne does, and it isn't because she's some kind of princess prisoner or for a Halloween costume, then she must be suffering from some kind of daddy issues. And not to be sexist or anything, but yeah, she does. They're called stereotypes for a reason, alright? Her father and main antagonist of BloodRayne 2, Kagan, murdered her mother when she was young. That's why she was hunting down those two vampires at the beginning, to try to get clues on his location. She didn't get the answers she wanted, but instead found a necklace left by two members of the Brimstone Society that ultimately used it as an invitation for BloodRayne to join after debating whether or not they should let a dhampir join their ranks. The Brimstone Society is a secret organization that protects the world against supernatural threats. So think the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense from the Hellboy series, or the Watchers Council from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I always found it strange that Kagan wasn't the driving antagonist for this game like he is for BloodRayne 2 or Betrayal. That always felt awkward to me and always made BloodRayne 1 kind of stick out to me compared to the other two games, like the odd one out. Curious, I took a quick peek at the game's manual to see if I could find any additional information. Nope. I did find something more important though. The manual straight up refers to BloodRayne, the character, not the game, as well, BloodRayne. Which, you know, I was going to make a bit throughout the video about, but now that it's canon, I don't even want to anymore. So I guess I'll just call her Rayne like everyone else does in the game. There goes that reoccurring joke that probably would never gotten old. With all that completely necessary exposition out of the way, we can now finally concentrate on the more important stuff, like the actual exposition of this game.
Newspapers claim the people of Morton, Louisiana are turning into some type of monster. They're calling them mutants. Doctors think a new disease is the cause, so they quarantined the area.
You make me proud.
I'm glad she is and all. Who are you? Well, this little lady dressed in the equally fatherless costume is Mice. Mince? I think it's pronounced Mince. And she's another dhampir sent from the Brimstone Society to help assist Rayne on her first mission. Which begs the question, why was that one guy in the opening cutscene so against supernatural beings like Rayne joining their organization? Because with the way he was acting, it made it sound like she was the first of that kind they were recruiting. Judging by the way she carries herself, Mince seems to be a good deal older than Rayne. It might be her superior within Brimstone itself of her handling the training and all. So that would mean that she got on board before Rayne's consideration. That dude must have not liked redheads or something. Anyway, back on task. Rayne's mission is to explore the town and destroy these biological masses that could be the cause of the mutate outbreak. Along the way, the girls enter a nearby church where there was some kind of last stand, and Mike suggests Rayne should pick up some weapons. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned these runback specials would be covering beat-em-ups, but to be absolutely fair, BloodRayne is more of a hack and slash. You see, this is still pretty early in 3D gaming, so things like controls and terminologies weren't really set in stone yet. A little genre-defining game called Devil May Cry released a year before BloodRayne, and although that is still widely considered a hack and slash, it is the first of what would be molded into what would be called the modern-day character action game. I don't know, talking about genres get a little blurry for certain subjects. So the combat of BloodRayne isn't very complex, and it will usually just involve you running into your target with your little arm blades and smashing the attacking button until something dies. And yeah, that gets pretty monotonous. Fast. Like you'll be sick of it by the end of the first act of the game fast. But this is where the weapons come in, right? To spice things up? And they do, I guess. Rayne auto-locks while you're blasting away, and they do a good amount of damage. She even does that strange thing some games tried to do around this time with her firing at two different enemies at the same time. I don't know if it works or not because it looks, glitchy. Rayne can switch between melee and gunplay on the fly, and that's pretty fun to do when paired with the dismemberment and destruction physics, which might be due to the Inferno engine that the splash screens proudly shows.
You make me proud.
After all the fighting, they find a huge wall with some exposition stamped on it.
After our dark year in 1873, the first stone of this great wall of fortitude was laid. With this plaque mounted in the
Mince's voice is hot and all, but I'm assuming reading wasn't her greatest subject.
May this wall of
Mince,
fortitude,
I finished reading, Rayne finished reading. It's only 3 sentences. Read faster, bitch!
forever.
Seems like they built that wall for nothing.
She's a sharp cookie. Now make a timely joke about all this disease and wall talk. So Rayne makes her way further into town when she spots one of these spider-like creatures that goes down easy after a couple of hits or a good shotgun blast. And after a little bit of that, she finally finds one of those biomasses Mince was talking about, which turns out to be a nest that those spider things are spawning from. Your current damage output isn't enough with the rate the nest pumps out those things. So your typical spaz fighting that's been working up to this point isn't going to cut it, because you'll be easily overrun. So now's as good as time as any to talk about Rayne's Blood Rage ability. Damage increases and you'll gain some new looking combo attacks while it's popped. It's still the same mashing as something though. Also, everything will slow down while Rayne speeds up because 2002. Rayne and Mince meet back up. We learned that those spider creatures are taking humans, eating and regurgitating them to feed something. I guess we'll figure that out later. The girls meet a survivor who calls those spiders, here we go, the Moralsrack?
The Moraisrack, swamp monster. That's what the Creole call the creatures.
I want to keep calling them giant spiders. You guys hear my accent? I don't have any business trying to pronounce Gambit talk. Speaking of these little gambits, Rayne will gain the additional objective of finding any healthy ones and pointing them back to this location for safety. Before the two separate again, Mince will give Rayne another important tool, the harpoon, which can be used to pull stuff in from a distance. Wait, if she's just getting that harpoon now, then what the hell was she using to grab that guy from the intro movie? There's too many questions coming from that one cutscene, man. Now that we got our marching orders, Rayne has to investigate through these flooded houses in order to find more nests and survivors. Wood is a pretty big hazard in these early areas because for some reason in folklore, vampires are weak to it. But since Rayne's a half-breed, it doesn't bother her as much. That may bring up the question of vampiric hygiene, but I'm sure it's some dumb shit answer like they don't have sweat glands or something, so I'll drop it here. There's a lot of fighting in ankle deep water on this level, and that slowly chips away at your health, but I don't see how water is even damaging her. She's wearing, and excuse my lack of slutty fashion sense here, but she's wearing like leather thigh-high heels. Those are essentially waders. There's no water getting in there. We meet another Gambit named Kazi, who just instantly starts dumping exposition onto Rayne. Kazi says that this bitch, her words not mine, Maraza, this voodoo priestess, hooked up with this German guy and did some black magic which caused the mess here in little old Morton. She wants to raise the mother of the underworld. That's all the information I could gather because of that weirdly distraction picture of a guy with a wiffle ball bat, which might be the first recorded case of a picture chewing scenery. Moving on, there's lots of fighting and nest busting here with not much else happening. We meet Deputy Goram and grab some weapons in the town hall, explore this McMansion needing to grab a battery to do some more nest busting annoying water, and spin kick a switch in order to drain the water at a power plant in order to do, guess what? More nest busting and annoying water. I don't think BloodRayne puts his best foot forward in his opening act with it being pretty repetitive. We should go complain. What's Mince doing? There she is, just standing there. You know, we all had supervisors like this who say they had more important things to do and would actually just be there doing nothing. Go patrol around or something. Oh. This might come off as cold, but I don't even feel bad. We just caught Mince slacking off on the clock. And this might have not happened if she wasn't too preoccupied doing the spinning slut cam thing while staring at 2000s era frog AI. Then again, Rayne just kinda sat there and let it happen. That's fair. Mince was my supervisor, however. Let's just split it in the middle and say there's mistakes made on both sides here. Rayne decides to follow the spiders to wherever they're feeding, and this leads her to the source of that voodoo ritual and the titular queen of the underworld. Now I know what you're thinking, but this isn't the same as the BloodRayne thing. See, she's the name of the level. This is a pretty simple fight, and by that I mean you handle it just like anything else. Use Blood Rage and smash the attack button until you run out. Then attack her babies until you can pop Rage again. If you head on to some power weapons, then that can help wiggle her health down too. Rayne examines the queen's corpse and finds some kind of glowing rib. She pulls it out and it suddenly stabs her. Rayne falls on the ground in pain. After some time, that German guy whose name is Wolf appears and rips it out of Rayne and leaves her for dead. Huh. I forgot BloodRayne was about Nazis.
Tell me you love me, honey.
Before we get to our favorite part of the video, seeing how long we can repeat the word Nazi before YouTube nukes our channel, let's talk about probably one of the most interesting things to come out of this series, and that's with Rayne's voice.
Sort of sticking a finger in my eye doesn't mean I have to do it. Seems like they built that wall for nothing. Easy with that thing. And who'd you call ugly? As good as it gets. Is there no dry land anymore? No one left. Damn it. Time to put an end to this. I'll find those bastards and rip their legs off one by one.
That sultry voice comes from Laura Bailey. You might remember her from like everything. While not entirely new to the world of voice acting by the time BloodRayne came around, her resume was pretty small, lending her voice to several animes from the Dragon Ball series to Yu Yu Hakusho to whatever the hell Blue Ginger was. Voicing Rayne was her first role for a video game, and she does a really good job. I wouldn't know how a vampire should sound other than the stereotypical blah blah I want to drink your blood type of thing, but the voice clearly fits and that's fine by me. Bailey had to be around 21 when she got the part, and Rayne is 18 in the original BloodRayne, so the age gap isn't too far to make all this 2002 Edge Girl talk feel believable. What doesn't feel very believable, and I might be the odd one out here, but I feel while Bailey does give Rayne a very sensual and fitting voice, there's a bit of a disconnect for me when she tries to talk all sexy. Those line reads in particular always felt a little awkward and forced, I don't know. Maybe I like my Rayne better when she's just being every Michelle Rodriguez character ever. Laura described providing a voice acting for the character as a blast, although she didn't personally identify with her. Apparently during sessions the director would adjust the game script on the fly. If the dialogue was changed to be just nasty enough to get her to blush, then it was usually kept. But this wasn't anything new. Getting Laura Bailey to say things to get her to blush was a typical pastime in the early 2000s. I even tried to release a board game version of it at one point. I pitched the idea to both Hasbro and Mattel, but they didn't want anything to do with it. And although Laura was small enough for me to reach at the time, she didn't want to read the crap ton of lines I made for the game. She also wanted money. I offered to pay her an exposure, but she wasn't hearing any of it. I know she didn't want to admit it at the time, but it was too late. She was already spoiled from that blue gender money. She also said something about not wanting to get in the business with a 10-year-old. Whatever, her loss. That was a nice little break, wasn't it? Alright, let's get into some old Nazi shit. If the first act of the game was a mixture between Blade, a bug exterminator, and tits, then the second act is more of a combination of Blade, Wolfenstein, that strange looking grandma thing for SpongeBob, and tits. I know you guys are confused at the moment, but don't worry, that's normal. Just stick with me and it'll all make sense soon. 5 years after Rayne's unfortunate fisting from the local swamp German guy Wolf, she's back on the horse, and that's good for her. I can't explain to you guys the amount of women who just quits after a good fisting. This is a very good lesson for all the little girls who somehow played this game without their parents knowing in 2002. So instead of just babbling on about what Rayne's next assignment is, I'm gonna let the game do the talking here, because I am a sucker for a good briefing scene. It could be a side effect, the condition, not the Matt Hardy move, of playing so much Siphon Filter as a kid.
Did you get the file?
In my hands.
Our sources tell us that all of these targets are in one place right now. A huge sub-bay and mining facility on the coast of Argentina. We heard rumors the Nazis are closing in on a lost relic with immense powers. We need more information. We're sending you to South America. Find out what you can about this relic and report back to us.
How do I contact you?
Use the Nazis' communication center.
Understood.
One more thing. The Nazis have organized a special task force called the GGG, or Gegengeist Group.
Anti-ghost group?
Literally, yes. The GGG was established to experiment in the occult. Anything that could help Hitler succeed. Their leader and founder is Jürgen Wolf. The file you have lists many GGG officers and their SS conspirators, including Jürgen Wolf. You are to eliminate all of these targets to prevent further supernatural ambitions. But be careful. Members of the GGG have been experimentally enhanced and are particularly dangerous. Good luck. And Rayne, watch yourself.
I hope you got all that, because we're already in Argentina, and Rayne somehow got into the only opening of a heavily guarded fortress that's built to the side of a mountain. She also gains the delayed perception, a vampire trick I guess she picked up over those unseen 5 years. That reminds me, we talked about Rayne's Blood Rage power-ups, but never went over the various other power-ups she gets throughout the game. And I'm not talking about those arbitrary additions to her basic or Blood Rage attack trains. Sadly, most of them don't get much use because the dominant strategy of saving your meter and catching out on the Blood Rage never really goes out of style. But I thought I should mention it since she does get a couple of these abilities during this section of the game. Starting with the method of slowing down time without popping BloodRayne being the most useful of them. Because once again, it's 2002 and we really want to show off that we could do the Max Payne thing too. In final boosting section, he said that the combat got pretty dull by the end of the Louisiana section, and he's not wrong, it did, but that's just because the devs put Rayne up against pretty boring enemies. You'd hit them, they'll vaguely thrash in your direction and hit you. It got old fast. Starting here though, the combat picks up. I'm not saying these Nazis are any smarter than the spiders or the mutates, but at least they're a lot more active in the fight, running around and being fairly decent shots if you slow down for whatever reason. They strike a good balance between still being weak enough to make Rayne feel powerful, but still being a threat. If you take them too lightly, they will gang up on you and they will burst you down. That's enough incentive to keep you on your toes at least. The game also does a fairly solid job at throwing new enemy types at you. Most of them are just basic Nazis with different weapons, but you'll get some curveballs like the elite Nazis, who took the extra effort to learn how to block, with the result of them needing to be weakened before taking any decent damage, or engaging from the back from the start. It isn't much admittedly, but the mixing of these guys keep your brain at least a little active, which makes combat a bit more stimulating. So the Nazis are at least a bit more fun to fight than the spiders. And I get it. I heard the awkwardness of that sentence the moment I said it. But if phrases like that is why I love video games. Sometime later, Rayne bashes her way through some kind of rec room, shocking several Nazis and the target on the list. He does this. Which I guess he was grabbing a gun or something, but then he pulls out a knife. I don't know, it just seemed like a waste of energy when you just seen this tiny ass girl kick down a whole door. But whatever, do you. If you didn't piece things together by now, the setup to Act 2 is very similar to the first, with the hit list targets being the new biomass nest you need to hunt down. Of course, it's a lot more interesting with these guys actually being able to fight back and all. The game will also vary up these targets, so not just these locker punching dudes. Hey look, another target, but the Nazi pulls the old take out the battery trick to slow us down. Unluckily for them, we've been through this before, so now we have to track down the guy who took it. We of course do that and head down the elevator and eliminate another GGG officer. After a little more running and gunning, Rayne encounters her next target in Von Blunt. They exchange some words, and similar to other characters we met in this game so far, he just start expositioning after Rayne asks about the relic. Why? You have to know she'd been busting up this place by now. Why tell her important information? I don't care if you think you're about to kill her, take that knowledge to the grave then. Either I don't know anything about Nazi etiquette, or this game gets a little contrived with what the characters like to tell Rayne at times. So according to the High Priest, the lost city of Atlantis was full of Aryans and then it was lost, something it tends to do. During the destruction of the city, its immortal leader Ballard body was scattered. The Gingengeist group located Ballard's skull deep underground, and that's why they're all the way out here in Argentina. I don't know what to say to all that. Rayne doesn't buy it and neither do I. We all know that Atlantis was the home of an advanced humanoid civilization that settled on Earth a million years ago, and for some reason was made of pulsating flesh. Blood doesn't take kindly to our version of the story, and he reveals this stupid looking armored pulpit that houses a heavy firearm, and the boss fight begins. The boss fight is also kinda stupid with butt fire at you while officers swarm the chapel. The objective of the fight is to get behind him, and deal enough damage so you can hit his little button and drive his pulpit down the track to avoid your offense. Rayne can naturally outrun his machine gun fire, so just get behind him, slow down time, and well on the priest until the job gets done. It's a dumb boss fight for a vampire to be subjected to, but Rayne was apparently riled up enough to learn her rage attack. It consumes bloodlust, so you won't be using that anyway. Rayne makes her way to the communication stack and relay her findings to Brimstone, and then she's told to destroy it to prevent enemy reinforcements. She does so and continues on her mission to eliminate targets. Fighting her way to the dock, she finds and kills another target, and another who tries to ambush her with bazookas. This interaction happens and it got a bit of a chuckle out of me.
Tell me you love me, honey.
More checking names off the list until we get a key for a locked door. There's an announcement about something funky happening at the science lab. We do this to a couple of Nazis.
What are you doing?
What does it look like? I'm lowering the lift.
Turn it off! I can't! Stop the lift, please! You can't do this!
You really should pay more attention to safety. As you know, most accidents in the workplace can be prevented.
Rayne, they're dead. Who are you quipping to? You know what? I get it. Sometimes they're just for you. Our entire channel is built on that. One of the targets takes off with Rayne not too far behind. Now that there's a little bit of quiet time, I like to take the time to appreciate everyone who made it this far in the video. If you did, sound off with the phrase, Bailey blushes badly in the comment section. YouTube loves basic bitch engagement like that, and we're not only doing this to push this video out further, but also gauge interest with that board game I'm trying to push. I was thinking of starting a Kickstarter and holy shit, back to work. Where did all the Nazis go? The only character who could clear a room of those guys this fast is Captain America. Jesus, Cap is fucking those guys up. He's fast too, I didn't even see him leave the room. Oh, Cap's not in there, is he? So whatever happened at the science lab got out of control, and now we gotta fight a bunch of red skulls. I'd say if they were any tougher than usual, but like everything else in this game, the Trident troops bass fight and does a trick. With all the Nazi shooting and jibbing everywhere, BloodRayne feels like a boomer shooter at times, and I suppose that would make sense seeing how the game timeline-wise will be more closer to those games. I'm not complaining or anything, it definitely adds to the charm. Man, Act 2 is much more fun than stinky Borno, Louisiana. Sorry if you're a watcher of this and you're from there, I didn't make the rules. Terminal Reality did, so go Saints. We're in the barracks now, and despite having his whole head replaced with whatever that is, and definitely 100% ceasing to be alive in some form, we still have to go around finding and dropping all these GGG members. When without a body, those SpongeBob grandma things, oh yeah, that's right. These are what I was referring to earlier. These red head things just kind of charge at you, but they don't take many hits to die, so they aren't that annoying. So Rayne watches another target on her list called the Butcheress doing her thing, dropping prisoners down what I can only describe as a death pit. Then Rayne says possibly the second best line in the game.
That big blonde bitch is one of my targets. I wish I could get to her now.
That's just chef's kiss. I don't usually resort to Zoomer talk because I enjoy not sounding like an idiot, but I think they would say that the writers were cooking with that line. For real, that shit was bussin'. No cap, on God. I'll stop now. On the way to her location, things get infinitely more skibbity when a bunch of deademites bust through the door and begin to chase Rayne. She tries to barricade herself in some boxes and stands there like it's going to hold. Come on, shorty, they just knocked down a steel door. I'm finished with the Zoomer talk, I swear. There's an admittedly pretty cool chase scene with the deademites flooding the area. This would have been easily a quick time event. This game came out like 4 years later. The scene does get a bit dumb when Rayne sees a picture of Wolf conveniently hung up in the featureless hallway. It has a quick flashback to when Wolf gave her the fist. In a costume he definitely wasn't wearing. Either they forgot what he was wearing or this is from an earlier build. It gets kinda confusing after that. When Rayne returns, she's getting teed off all by Datamites until one of them shoots a grenade launcher and she suddenly dodges it. There's some explosions and now the pathway is being blocked by machine gun nests. I see what they were going for and the execution could have been a lot better, but once again, there's a charm to all this in-aging jank to these scenes. Similarly to the Butcheress kicking a guy and he slowly steps off the ledge to sell it. Things like that are just too cute to be critical or even snarky about. And if I'm being honest, I kinda miss when things are like this. It just feels so innocent, you know? But enough being the nostalgia tired. We got some machine gunners to handle. Rayne's gonna need a weapon that can shoot around corners. She doesn't have to look very far. The guy who had the grenades is running 2 past the giant grinders. We put him through one of the smaller ones and go back down and grab him. Well, that was easy. Oh shit. As we get deeper into the mountain compound, Rayne enters a laboratory where we see some of the remaining Nazis are trying to fight off the other increasing dynamites. You would think there would be some kind of alignment system at play here or something, but then I remember, if that was the case, then you only have 2 choices, and that would be to reawaken the ancient evil and Nazis. But then again, I am playing as a vampire, and it's not like those guys are usually depicted as good guys. Luckily, all I have to do is kill everything that moves. Eventually, Rayne runs into another target on her list, the Commando. Another good line to sit here.
You must be the mysterious Commando. I'm sorry, was I talking too fast? Can't keep the words apart? I'll talk slower. Read my lips. You're dead. Any last words?
Despite having Kevlar covering his body from head to toe, the dominant strategy remains just that. First off, save some of his backup for health later, because he might be able to wear you down with his hit and run tactics. They'll be busy fighting off some dynamites that appear anyway. Find where he's hiding on the map and proceed to wail on him. He fights just like the elite Nazis and will block if you attack in front of him. After a while, he'll throw a flash grenade to relocate. Do this for about 5 minutes and you're done. Before exiting the area, we'll meet yet another body on the list, and he'll start to provide Rayne with more exposition about the Dynamites. At least this is a little better than Blood, who was just talking to Rayne while she was in span distance of him. This guy's about to gas her behind her reel for his glass and fucking whoops. Never mind. Rayne gets her wish and finally gets her hands on the butchers. After a very tasteful detailing of what Dynamites do to a host, the butcheress reveals that she plans to turn them loose on the United States. Please don't. We can't survive another quarantine. This is another stupid boss fight. Just two morons spaz fighting at each other until something gives. After another charmingly jank cutscene, the butcheress seemingly meets the same end as our very own men that she subjected to the Dynamites. If not that, the fall killed her. And if it wasn't the fall, surely it was the fire. Once everything cools down, Rayne jumps in the death pit herself, where we almost get bodied by some unusually strong Dynamites, enter the morgue, and jump into what I can only describe as a body disposal chute. We exit out of the chute and make our way to the mines. Hold up, is that Sephiroth? Did the Nazis get the Sephiroth? Rayne fights our way through a mining facility when we meet an old friend, BloodRayne's equivalent to block puzzles, to find a missing battery gimmick. In the lower section of the facility, these guys make themselves known, so you know we're about to get somewhere good. These are Dynamite warriors, and seeing these Doom 64 mother demon looking motherfuckers mean that we're getting closer to the temple that hold Beliar's skull. That's right, we took a trip to the wiki for you guys. Warriors are complete damage sponges, and unless you're packing some heavier weapons, it's best just to pop Blood Rage and deal with them quickly. Deeper in, then the Dynamites are getting the upper hand. Nazis are seen spraying and praying, shooting directly at their own guys, who just ignore it because it's a 2002 game. The mine officer decides to abandon his own men and blow up the pathway to seal the tunnel. Then they run off after seeing Rayne leave the elevator. Rayne lets them go for the meantime because she has to deal with the blocked off tunnel. She'll need some explosives and a detonator to get the job done. You think you're clever, BloodRayne? But I see right through you. This is just another goddamn battery puzzle, isn't it? We break through a wall to see the same Nazis who ran from us earlier. I think. They reuse the same models. Well, if it is those guys, they being overran by Dynamites, and we lend a hand by taking care of another target on the list. We also grab the detonator from them and the dynamite a little ways further, then return to the passage and blow it clear. We finally made it into the temple, and now we have to make our way to the core. This opening area for the temple line of levels might be my favorite combat areas in the game. This place has a lot of nook and crannies enemies can hide, but it also has tons of verticality that will have you jumping, attacking, and dodging all over the place. There is a ton of fighting here, and I know we've talked a lot of trash about the combat being simple and repetitive, but it's that same simplicity that makes the fighting actually fun. I said this a little while ago, but the game usually strikes a good balance between making Rayne feel like a powerful force while providing just enough enemies to keep you engaged, you know, keep you on your feet, at least in the second half of the game. And that's not to say the game is difficult or anything. I say it stays relatively on the easy side of things, and maybe it could have used a bit more variety in the basic enemies. And while Rayne can take a good amount of damage, she isn't a tank, so the large number of hit scanners will always ensure two things. One, that you're taking some kind of damage, and two, that you're staying mobile. Since any target can become a health pickup at any time, nothing feels cheap. BloodRayne is at its best when you're attacking in large groups of enemies at once. That's where the game shines, and that's why I usually make fun of the 1v1s the game first you'll in for boss fights, because it usually reveals just how shallow the combat actually is. But I guess the fighting's grown on me a lot more than past playthroughs, so take the good and the bad. Whoa, careful with that pacing, BloodRayne, or I might start thinking you're a well-designed game or something. So after all that fighting in the previous section, this area feels a bit more like a breather with some light combat and platforming. After Rayne makes her way down, we partake in the oldie but a goodie, fighting a high health enemy in a shallow pool of water. We make our way back up only to be greeted by a boss fight against 3 Dynamite Guardians. Now I know what you're thinking, Madhouse, surely this would be a difficult fight, right? Typically yes, 3 of these guys would be a challenge. I just wish Blood Rage wasn't so damn overpowered. Seems like a contradiction. After all, I just got finished praising the combat. but the devs will always make sure this is the first and final solution to any issue of this game, and admittedly, it's getting a little annoying. But then again, I'll let it slide since the game was designed in this way. It is not some type of exploited oversight. Hey yo, this is Rayne, and I'm in the Damite Chamber. Damite Chamber, Damite Chamber, Damite Chamber. See, sometimes it's okay to make jokes just for you. This is largely a platforming area where you'll tightrope walk until you finally get to what the Nazis were searching for, Beliar's Eye. And just like the rib she found in Louisiana, this also attracts itself to Rayne. Since we don't have any old Germans to remove this one, Rayne just kinda gets better after a while and gains the extruded view ability, which grants her the gift of zooming in and out while in first person mode. At this point, Damites begin to flood the area, and the Nazis had enough, now wanting to blow up the temple. And for once, we agree. I don't want to make friends with them or anything, we just simply kill them and take their day as our own, pushing the driller into the core of the temple and destroying it. We have to get out of this minor area before everything blows up, so we make our way. The fuck? Okay, so as soon as you go off the path, you instantly die, fair enough. Much like the running from the Damite section from earlier, this would have been a cutscene or a QTE if the game would have came out 3 or 4 years later. And this might be a little hack take, but I actually like playing moments like this out. It's simple, but at least you're playing a moment, and that's far more immersive than just having to press several buttons or just watching it. The last boss of the Argentina section is Mauler, one of the final members of the GGG. I don't know what to say about this design. I'm halfway expecting him to yell out, "Nazi science is the greatest science in the world!" So Von Neck breaks hair informs Rayne that Ballard was the original devil, and held his spot until Mephisto fell from heaven and usurped him. When it was found out that Ballard couldn't be destroyed, he was ripped apart and scattered. Rayne's newly obtained eye isn't the only relic, with his heart being located in Germany. I'm not sure how they wanted you to handle Mauler. You could just use BloodRayne and take off more than half of his health. But I think the devs intended players to lure him to the supports of the upper platform and have it collapse on him after baiting him to attack. I just used Blood Rage, then I shot at him a lot, then I used Blood Rage again. He's a sponge, but the fight shouldn't take that long. Rayne hitches a rod on the departing sub while stowing away in the box, and we leave Argentina.
We're rounding the home stretch now, and after an admittedly cool cutscene, the final act of the game takes place in Germany at Castle Gestadt, which is a location from one of Terminal Reality's earlier games called Nocturne, a 1999 survival horror that BloodRayne is heavily influenced by. Actually, BloodRayne's working title during development was Nocturne 2. BloodRayne also makes several references to Nocturne throughout, and that would explain Mince's strange half-sister comment at the beginning of it. Apparently this character, Svetlana Lepetscu, a character from the Nocturne game, is our half-sister. When the game was going by Nocturne 2, Svetlana was the main character. But when Nocturne's publisher went under, Terminal Reality opted to change the game, as they weren't willing to share the Nocturne license with a new publisher that they didn't trust yet. So Svetlana became Rayne, and here we are. I meant to mention this all at the start of the video, but I forgot, okay? But let me get out of the way. It's briefing time.
Castle Gestadt, a place where nightmares are born. Vampires have called this place home for centuries. But now the Germans have put up an eviction notice. They've made some progress, but the creatures they're up against are monsters even amongst vampires. An ancient breed of vampire cut off from the world, where in isolation they evolved into perfect killers. Daylight is fading fast, and with it, any advantage the Nazis might have had. I have a new target list from the Brimstone Society, and an official objective to stop Wolf. Wolf already has Beliar's teeth, ribs, a hand, and an eye. Now he's after the Black Heart, hidden somewhere in this castle. He wants to wake Beliar in himself. Beliar, a demon, a devil, maybe even the devil. Wolf can't control this kind of power. If Beliar is woken, we're all in big trouble. Wolf. Remember 5 years ago in Louisiana? You almost killed me. I intend to pay you back. With interest.
Papers. Let me see your papers. Dunk. Drive through.
Thanks for the ride, bucko.
So time to get into some more old Nazi shit, but this time they can fly. Act 3 is a lot like Act 2 in that we have to continue knocking off a list of bad guys. We have to fight our way to the entrance of the castle, and along the way we start picking names off said list. We're given a fairly sizable area to wander around and take out more names on the list. Before we get our first one, he's picked off by one of these feral vampires, who are like Rayne but more man-bat than Batman. These guys aren't too complex to fight. Although they hit pretty hard, just keep circling around them because they'll dive at you most of the time. We make our way indoors where several Nazis are fighting the feral vampires, and while we're busy, one of them rips through our target, which is pretty damn cool. I didn't think that was going to happen. Rayne sees that Nazis are making mecha now and has the same reaction I would have.
Oh yeah, what are those? I want one.
Get off me! Stop!
Why is it in media that Nazis always have access to all the cool stuff? BloodRayne suddenly turns into Mech Assault for a little while as we deal with these big mobile armor units. And wow, this thing is slow. Let's just speed this up for retention's sake. For how cool it is to be controlling this mech, shooting at 3 of these guys is going to take a while, so we'll do some more speeding up here too. The leader joins in not too soon after and the boss fight begins. Except nothing really changes from what we've been doing before, except he'll beg for mercy when he's down to about 25% life. After that, we do some more fighting with the mech before blowing it up and proceeding onward. This story feels a little straightforward so far. I mean, we're just killing Nazis for the most part. We need some kind of third act twist to spice things up. What's Mintz doing? Wait, Mintz? Is that her? I think it's her. The fatherless costume seems familiar, but the Nazi hat has me baffled. We eventually confront Mintz on her betrayal, but she doesn't give Rayne any answers as a boss fight starts. You know how these work by now. Mintz gets ate alive by blood rage as he awkwardly rushes up the stairs to get to her cue. Look, I know it was said that it's hard to make fun of all the jank of the game, but this is just stupid. Why didn't they just put the fight on top of the flight of stairs instead of watching her glitch around while I beat her up? The fight's second phase starts as soon as she goes through the door, and that involves polishing the remainder of her health that she wasted getting up here. After she harpoons the wall only to fall after saying goodbye, giving us a path forward. The boss fight was shitty, but that scene was worth it. We go about our merry way when we meet back up with the target that was taken from us earlier, being killed by what seems like the leader of the feral vampires called Hedrox. He runs off and Rayne confirms the kill. I don't really like the fact that we need to do even more hit list stuff for the final section of the game. It feels kind of tacked on and used as an excuse to have you run around this castle and do stuff without the game actually telling you to do something more meaningful. Rayne crashes through a windmill and meets Hedrox the Infinite, who is also after Beliar's heart to become the ultimate immortal. Whatever that is. This feels like a strange motivation to have when you have the title The Infinite in your name, but what do I know? By the sound of their conversation, they know each other, which I thought was a reference to Nocturne. The game likes to do that from time to time, even if it confuses people, but it's not. Hedrox killing the castle's owner, Count Volku, is one though, and that kinda makes me mad. Anyway, Hedrox has 2 other similar versions of himself, and they take turns talking in this role-like fashion, and sometimes it goes into this whisper that's admittedly a little creepy.
Relic's not unlike the one in you, Rayne. Hedrox wants the secret. Tell Hedrox, how does Hedrox put the relic in the body?
Sure, you have to cut your heart out and replace it with Beliar's.
Do you not think Hedrox has tried? Does Rayne forget? Hedrox is infinite! Hedrox wants the secret. Hedrox will tear Rayne's eye out and eat her mind. To find it,
Hedrox, I'm gonna do the same thing to you that you did to Voiku.
I like him. I don't like those distracting nipple rings he and the other feral vampires have, but the actual guy is okay. Obviously, this leads to a boss fight against them. Fighting Hedrox directly isn't going to work because he has the word infinite in his name, so instead we have to aim for the supports on the windmill to bring it down to the waters below. Of course, one of the Hedroxes catches wise of Rayne's plan and stays out of danger. Rayne tries to goad him to a second round, but he runs with her in pursuit. The next level will have Rayne make her way past some landmines that you could just platform through, so I don't know what the point even was. There will be several Nazis up ahead with bazookas that you will need to kill in order to get some ammo to fight off a mech, but you can just ignore it all the same. Crossing the bridge, Rayne will meet Jurgen Wolf. He'll light the bridge on fire and speed past Rayne while giving her a fiery bitch slap. The fire will set off the charges on the bridge and Rayne will have to fight our way to the other side. We find another target on our list, but he's friendly fired to death. What the fuck is this? Okay, so now we have to fight experimental former conjoined twins who were separated at birth. As a twin, this fight is essentially blackface with them finishing each other's sentences and even both dying after killing just one. Huh? The boss fight? What do you think happened? It's revealed that Mintz is alive again. Turns out that Mintz here is a double agent against the Nazis ever since the mission in Louisiana. They do this "I was here the whole time" while doing this zooming Dutch angles on her face like it's this big brain plot twisting reveal. But unless I'm missing something, it's kinda dumb. She was swallowed by a spider back in Louisiana and Rayne thought she was dead. The spiders weren't working for the Nazis, they felt like a byproduct of them trying to get to the titular queen of the underworld, right? The Nazis must have not known she was working for Brimstone because they gave her a little hat and everything. And it wouldn't have hurt if Rayne knew that she was alive and well and going undercover as a Nazi, because it's not like she had any real issues with the GGG since getting this mission. For this to work, Mintz will have to betray Rayne in the Louisiana section of the game. Maybe she's the one to remove the rib from Rayne on Wolf's orders or something. But maybe she made sure Brimstone was on the scene to rescue her afterwards. Am I missing something here? Mintz couldn't kill Wolf in all this time because of his near invincibility with all the Beliar parts inside of him, and they can't afford him to get a hold of his heart. Before they can get any further with their plans, Wolf janks in front of them and gives Mintz a good fisting, removing her heart and killing her. Wolf leaves Rayne alive because she has the eye and Hedrox currently has the heart. Wolf wants them to meet in the cathedral. Dude, why not just kill her now? You're already one shot at Mintz, who has to be stronger than Rayne by just experience alone. And you want the eye. Just kill her and fight it out with Hedrox for the heart. Man, this plot is stupid. Rayne says her goodbye to her mentor and rushes off to face dumb invincible Wolf. So Rayne pimps into one of the stupidest Mexican standoffs ever. Hedrox finds out the secret of getting Beliar's heart to work, and he transforms into him through the use of a loud jump scare. He attacks both Rayne and Wolf. The final boss fight isn't very good. You have the options of killing either Beliar or Wolf. Each method requires a good deal of brain work. If you want Wolf dead first, just pop Blood Rage and mow him down, otherwise he'll just super speed into walls and generally just be annoying. After depleting his health, Rayne will give the finishing blows to a nearly invincible Wolf before flipping them off and turning her attention to Beliar. Defeating this guy will require all of your cutting and skill. First you let the idiot get to the right size, because he'll be growing throughout the fight. He'll be laughing of course while he's doing it, but that'll stop after you kill him. Once he's big enough, he won't be able to fit through any doorways, and that gives you plenty of time to zoom in on his heart and just unload on him. If you run out of ammo while doing so, just search around for more. After that exciting fight, Beliar will be absorbed back into his heart. When the coast is clear, Rayne would do this. You know, for how she dresses and talks at times, this is the most overtly sexual thing Rayne has ever done in this game. I don't think jumping on guys to drink their blood really counts. And technically, this is just fixing her corset. She did just beat two near invincible beings after all, and that thing can only divide and separate for only so long. Gotta keep Lau and Eric in check. That's a Dharma and Greg joke by the by. Anybody remember that show? Seriously though, I never noticed how the game doesn't really overly sexualize Rayne to any significant extent that I noticed. Sure, there's their occasional butt shot here and there, but you know, I mean, come on. It mostly tried to keep her looking as cool as possible, to the point that the story kind of suffers because she doesn't really struggle with anything. Almost like having her look sexy was enough. Huh. What do you mean you can have your cake and eat it too? Rayne is seemingly enticed by the power of Beliar's heart and reaches for it, but it petrifies before it can be touched. She is then notified by Brimstone that her father was found and he must be stopped. And that's the original BloodRayne. And I know what you guys are thinking, and we'll be getting to both BloodRayne 2 and Betrayal a lot sooner than you think, but we need to get back to talking about fighting games first. But man, this game held up a lot better than I first thought. This game still looks good for a 2002 game, combat is simple but fun, with some satisfying gore physics going around, and a nice selection of guns too. The level design's a little dull, but it's mostly a means to an end just to get back to the fighting. The only real complaint is the story. It's kinda dumb, and not in the way you think a BloodRayne story should be, whatever that could actually look like. I don't really know how to end this video. Here's a replay of Rayne doing that boob thing again.
You make me proud.